Welcome to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston. Today I am here with my OG organizing associate, Alicia. We work, I own and we operate Space by Space Organizing, a Twin Cities-based home organizing business. And today we are here with Danielle, one of our very favorite clients. And this is a segment, once a month, we bring on a former client and kind of speak to the organizing experience. We call it Behind Closed Drawers. And I think that there's a lot of people out there who know what it means to hire a home organizer. And I think there's a lot of people who don't, maybe more who don't, or people who think, oh, that sounds really expensive, or I don't know if I feel comfortable with that, and what does this actually entail? And by producing this segment, I think we're really hoping that people can see themselves within it and feel that immediate release of shame or isolation. And I'm the only person who can't get my stuff together. And so by bringing on guests, it's honestly such a great feeling to know that we've supported people enough that they're willing to come and speak to it publicly and say what we've done on their behalf and their household's behalf. But I'm having a lot of fun with this segment. And Danielle, I'm excited for our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
And Alicia, I'm happy that you're back.
I know. Glad to be here.
Alicia's like my right hand, left hand. We can speak without talking. I talk a lot. She hears a lot, and it's just kind of amazing to be able. I feel it when she's not around. So Danielle, what made you reach out to us in the first place?
Well, I had made a couple big life transitions in a pretty short period of time. So my husband and I have been living in a very tiny apartment uptown. We got married. We had a bunch of things in storage spaces there. Then we put it in further storage spaces and moved overseas for a short time. And then we had a baby. And we moved back.
Baby in France.
Yes.
Actually
had our first
Yes.
daughter in France while my husband was finishing business school. We decided to take that adventure. It was wonderful. And then when we moved back, everything was still in storage. And our plans were to figure out the next step once we got home. So we lived with our in-laws, further kind of like tightening of spaces. And then adding all the things that come with a newborn, with a baby. And then we bought our first home. And so at the point that I reached out to you, we had been in our home, I think like 1 or 2 years. Maybe I was probably more like going on 2 or 3 years. And we just had not unpacked like so many things still, just with the busyness of life. My husband and I both work full time. He works in the business world in the renewable energy space, and I am a intensive care unit nurse. So quite busy. We're fortunate to have, lots of good friend and family support in the area, but there are some things, especially with all of your personal items in your home that, as you said, you just feel you should be able to do. And it was just hard, having small ones around. I didn't want partly the safety issue of all these boxes and things that still hadn't been unpacked. Our house is great, but, there was a lot of space going unused because it was still just holding things that hadn't yet found a home. And for how quickly we moved through life and how many things we had to execute on a given day, it was just inefficient and frustrating at the worst of it. And we would try to set aside time here and there. Like he and I would agree to, we'll do an hour this weekend, and then not getting anywhere and just still feeling frustrated and having that build up. So we grew up together in the same like community, knew each other. Had connections.
Both you and your husband and me.
Yes. Yeah.
Your husband was in my brother's grade.
Exactly.
We were a couple older, but we were in the same choir.
Yes.
We never sang together, but we knew each other.
Yeah, there was some overlap. And so as a result, we followed each other in social media, as one does. And I saw that you were starting this business, and I had worked with a professional organizer. Initially, when I reached out to that person as well, I had had a very specific project in mind that I'd wanted to work on our crawl space. We have a very large crawl space for storage, which is great living in Minnesota with all the various seasons. And we're a very active family doing a lot of sports and outdoor activities. So when we bought the house, that was a big plus. But it was kind of busting at the seams and very disorganized, and we still had a lot of stuff in the house that hadn't been put away. So I had hired her to help me with that. And she did. It was great. We got a good start. But that was probably the first, um, like, starting to realize that this was not like a 1 hour on the weekend project.
No.
Like, not even close. Like, I had wildly underestimated what this would
Yeah.
take to really go through basically all of our belongings. Because as I said, we had continued moving from big life phase to big life phase without ever really stopping and, like, adjusting and kind of purging, getting rid of the previous things that weren't working for us anymore, and so we just kept accumulating without that editing, without, figuring out a new system for our family because we just didn't have the time to stop and do that, or really, as I realized later, the know-how. And it wasn't necessarily, like, a bad thing on our part or a lack of trying or just, being okay with it, but, yeah, just not really realizing the possibility that was, sitting right around us. And so finally I saw that this was launching, and I reached out at some point and thought, "Hey, I've worked with this before. I liked that small project. Like, it did help me. It was a wonderful experience. I just thought, oh, let's give it another shot." And you came in, and I think the first project, I don't know if you want me to talk about that or
What's really nice about yours is we have a lot documented, so we
yeah.
can add those in, and we have kind of some outside stuff that we're going to expand on our behind closed drawers and really
Mhm.
help people visualize. We've walked through your crawl space,
Yes.
and I love that you love that crawl space. Most people would love a very large storage room that they can stand up in. This crawl space is called a crawl space because you hit your
Crawl in
back in it. You crawl
it.
in it.
Yeah, I mean, you're a hunchback. You
You are an
yeah.
optimist.
I am, I am.
Um, but what would happen with your house, I think you speak to so many great points that we can, um, that we'll be showing in different ways, like that crawl space. It's a great space when organized, but it's a very easy to put everything outside the crawl space to go and do the crawl space. Like that's the 1 hour activity you could do is just
Mhm.
putting the things that you put in front of the crawl space away.
Yeah.
But a lot of your tasks were not even like drop off the kids for the whole weekend and exclusively work on the house kind of tasks because when we really started to get into it,
Mhm.
all those moves and all those life transitions, things would just get boxed up, or your tendency to put a bag within a box.
Mhm.
And everybody has their tendencies, and they're all fine. It's but I think the biggest thing, and I think is super relatable to other people, you are a very high achieving person, and your husband is a very high achieving person. Amidst, within the last 10 years, you've moved across world,
Yeah.
you've had two children,
We both finished graduate
graduate
degrees.
degrees, you have these
I'm
he's
starting a
switched a
doctorate.
different job, you're starting a doctorate, when you took a break from going to school, you started teaching school. Like, there's no shortage of when you're out in the world
Mhm.
being top notch, so professional, polished, got it together. And then it's like you come home and ain't nobody got time for that. It's
Yeah.
like so much to do. And what you need to do is just dump it all and allow yourself to
Yeah.
release. But what was happening is you were physically dumping it all. And then it's like piling. And it's
Yeah.
like you just focus on the love in the family and
Mhm.
and the most important thing of the day. But it becomes super overwhelming, super quick. And you mentioned the word, um, well, I think you said busting at the seams.
Yeah.
And that's, you know
And we didn't the thing I think I didn't realize until later, after we had, completed a couple projects and more of the process, that isn't immediately apparent is the, mental load and the stress that it carries. So we only have so much energy as parents, as busy working individuals. We all do. You have to choose how to use it. And we definitely were underestimating how much that was taking away from us. And like you said, we're used to being successful in a lot of spheres of our life. We have our priorities, family first, and obviously put great value and emphasis on our education and our work pursuits. But um, I don't think I realized that there were things that we were falling short in because there was so much undone, and that we would come home and think we could do it, and that feeling of kind of failure and being so successful in some areas and being like, why can't we get this together? And why
Yeah.
is this still, and that you just keep carrying that. And each time we would set a date to like really get it done and get it organized, get it all put away, and it wouldn't happen. It's just another like, oh, we didn't do that. We didn't like achieve that. And
Yeah.
like that started to weigh. And I don't think I realized that until it was lifted, until I started to see these spaces open up and we started to live in that reorganized space as a family. And it was so much more enjoyable. Like, it was immediately noticeable, like, reduced stress, just really actually there was just more time and space for all the things that we do love and prioritize because we had, like, eliminated so much of that clutter, and it was a big time waste as well, like,
Mhm.
searching for things. Like, we are constantly on the go, like you said, ain't nobody got time for that, and
Yeah.
so this freed up so much time, so much mental energy, and honestly, that was probably the biggest one of the biggest payoffs and benefits that we've seen, and so once you start to see that, you're like, "Great, let's keep
Keep
going, let's
going.
finish it." Because initially I was like, "Okay, Colleen, I just need this one tiny project." I can't remember specifically what it was. If I asked you to help us organize coming off our garage is our main hub for our family, and it's our sunroom.
I think it was that and pantry,
That in the pantry. So
the basement back
yeah,
stock.
we have a small kitchen,
Yeah.
and
Let's
so
let's
we were gonna
get
do
into
that.
the details, and we want to talk about a few specific things.
Sure.
I think um we'll take a quick break, but what I think you're pointing out is like a lot of times with clients, it's like you could have the best couples therapist, family therapist, anything. And identifying the issue is one thing and
Mhm.
saying, like, it really stresses me out that you don't do this. But like having the skills to actually do it, the time to do it, the focused energy, and we'll get into that. But it's like I see that so much when I go into these consults and these people that just are carrying the weight of this. And I get so excited to take that weight off their shoulders. Alicia's
Mhm.
always talking about the sigh of relief.
Oh, yeah. Right at
And
the end of the job.
oh, it's
Yep.
like as soon as we arrive, during, after, sometimes during in the messy middle, there's kind of like, are you, what is,
Like, they doubt the process. Sometimes you can see
yes.
the look on their eyes and they're like, "Okay, like, how is this going to get done?"
How is this going to get done? But it does. It
Yes.
always gets
Mhm.
done because an outsider is being paid to do it.
Yes.
So we will come back and kind of talk about some of those. This is Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston, Alicia, and Danielle today. All right, we are back with Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston, and I am the owner and lead organizer of Space by Space Organizing here in the Twin Cities. And I have Alicia here with me, who's my right hand on most client jobs and sometimes in life in general. And today, to the left of me at the studio, and Danielle, our client who we adore and love. I think that's the same word, but who we've worked a lot in your house. And I brought a prop today. For those watching in a video format, this is a time timer, which is used with people with ADHD. And so while we are not trained experts in ADHD, the three of us all have been diagnosed in some way with a neurodivergence. And I think it's important to everywhere within the organizing industry, people are talking about neurodivergence because the way our brains process things is very much like how we keep our stuff, how we keep our life, how we feel on time for things or not. And so a lot of times an organizer gets pretty quickly intimate, but will say is neurodivergence present here. And we'll usually see it and then that will prompt the ask. And usually that provides, it's becoming so much more of an open conversation. But so I am going to set 5 minutes for different topics and we're going to see how we can do, because between the three of us, between me, I could probably keep talking for the remainder of the time and you guys would never have a word and you would just lovingly nod at me like, yes, Colleen. But we are going to move ourselves forward, and sometimes those strategies help. And I think one thing with people with ADHD, they don't have the best relationship to time generally. A lot of times optimistic with what they can get accomplished with time, but also just not thinking how long something is taking. So we're going to use this. I've got the 5 set. And so Danielle, like, let's talk about ADHD and particular starting not finishing projects.
Yes. Um, you know, one of the things that has served me so well that I've found out, I also wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until adulthood, until the last few years, because which
As
is
most women.
most women, it's very typical of women and girls that you tend to be extremely high functioning and you lean into the strengths of ADHD, which are numerous. There are so many ways it serves me in life, and it's led me to my professional calling because things that kind of that level of intensity in the intensive care unit and being able to have to constantly be a creative problem solver, those are the areas where I thrive. I thrive under time constraints. I thrive in highly organized environments that I just function within that are
You
already set
sent
up
me a
for me.
picture
I
of
sent
like the supplies at the
Yes.
hospital, and you're like, no wonder I do so well here.
Yes, if
Look
anyone
at
is
this
familiar
system.
with the Japanese Kanban system developed by, I believe, the Toyota Corporation, it is a highly efficient system that a lot of companies and corporations have implemented because it works so well. And so I realized I was functioning within all of these systems that have been set up for me, but setting up those systems from scratch is not my skill set. I like to have that freed up so that I can do the other high level work that I do enjoy, which is, you know, from a social standpoint, interacting and caring for others, making quick social connections, making people feel comfortable and at ease, sorting through and thinking through my, all the info I've accumulated on, healthcare and medicine and using that to help people. That's where I
But
thrive.
that can get in the weeds, and
Yes.
hanging on to all the medical journals
Oh,
that
yes.
you recently found out were all online, and we were able to happily
Recycle.
recycle them
Yep. Yep.
and free up a lot of space in a small office.
Yeah, because I like to have visual reminders a lot of times. So a lot of this journey over the last couple of years in a number of areas of my life has been finding different tools and supports because we all have, gifts in areas where we excel. We all have areas where, maybe it's just not our thing, or especially for ADHD, if you don't have an interest in it, forget about it. You're
Right.
unlikely to ever do it ever again. And so finding someone who does have an interest, who it is their strong point, like if I can work with someone, like working with you and Alicia has been extremely eye-opening because I would not have done it by myself. I've attempted to do it by myself numerous times and failed. I shouldn't say failed, but it didn't progress. Like I wasn't getting the results that I wanted.
Alicia and I always talk about body doubling. Maybe you can
Mhm.
explain that, Alicia.
Yeah. So they also kind of call it, I think it's like parallel work where
Mhm.
you're working on something with someone in the same room, but you're both doing your own individual tasks.
Don't
But
they call
having,
kids parallel play when they're young and they're
yes,
not like
Mhm.
that's what it
playing with
was.
each
Yep.
other? So it's
Yeah,
kind of like
it's a
the same
developmental step.
concept where it's
Yeah.
like, we're not going to interact,
Hmm.
but it's good that we're here,
Yeah. Like I
for the
know.
child's development and the ADHD adult.
Yeah. Like I know you're getting your thing done. I'm getting my thing done. We're both being productive together, but separately at the same time.
Mhm.
We have a warehouse space that we do reselling for some clients, and it'll be like, Alicia can crush that, but I know she's more productive if I'm in the space doing something else. It's not that we're working together, but we're together,
Hmm.
and I'm more productive because I know Alicia's doing stuff. I should be doing stuff. So it's like that.
Almost motivating factor too.
Right. So I think having it on the calendar, we're coming, and
Yep.
there's going to be multiple people. I think the time thing, always thinking it's going to take less time than it actually will. That's something you and I have talked about
Yep.
is, and it actually leads into the value of hiring an outsider. And I think throughout, if we pull in these ADHD elements, it's great because people are relate to it, but also you're a medical professional who's very researched in it.
Right. And seeing, three people with a form of the neurodivergence, and I should say, like many things, like in life, it's rarely super straightforward and black and white. There's so many variations and spectrum. And so just identifying that,
Neurodivergence.
yeah,
It's
that's exactly
not
what it's called,
one or the
divergence.
other. It is that we all don't think the same way, and we're finally living in a world that's acknowledging that
Yeah.
in a way that it's like a strengths finder. What color is your parachute, your Enneagram. It's all these different ways, and being able to identify your brain's tendencies.
Hmm.
I found my diagnosis very frustrating and freeing because I was like, oh, wow. I didn't realize this along the way, and maybe I could have directed it better, but then we just are where we are. And so but yeah, we all have different things. So talk about hiring an outsider and the
Sure.
benefit of having that expert come in.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people, your home is your private space. And as you were just kind of talking about figuring out these things and these systems, it made me think of this is a little off tangent. And as you'll all realize, sometimes we talk in circles with ADHD, but I promise there's a point we come back to it. So, yeah, it just made me think of that. I'm sure everyone's heard a version of the phrase like square peg in a round hole. One of the reasons girls and women tend to be so successful with ADHD and underdiagnosed is we are very adaptable. We tend to be
Mhm.
very, I don't necessarily want to use the phrase people pleasing because it's kind of become a little negative connotation, but you know how to accommodate others.
Mhm.
But if you spend your life like bending and contorting yourself to fit so many other systems in the outside world, and you find with an ADHD person, it's not saying, okay, the world completely 100% adapt to me. Like we're all finding, I think, a happy medium where obviously certain systems and spaces exist for a reason. Like work very well in my work environment. I'm not asking them to change that dramatically for me. I wouldn't actually prefer it. When you come to your home space, that is your personal. That is supposed to be your calm, your reset, especially with a high pressure job. All I want when I come home is a peaceful, relaxing place. I can be with my family. We can do the things that we love and enjoy, our hobbies, our interests, like just
Your
the day
girls play.
they
Like,
play.
they
And
play
we
and they
want to
love and they
yeah,
create
and
and
I want to
they
facilitate for
sing.
them. I want to make sure
Yes.
they have their art supplies available. We do not live in a house that is museum like.
No.
I did not set out having children thinking it's going to constantly be spotless, but I also don't want it to be complete chaos and like a tripping hazard. And, you want it in a happy medium where it can be organized chaos to a degree. And, after going through the spaces, especially the spaces with the children, I think one of the first things we hadn't initially set out to do it, but it kind of so many parts of your house spill into other parts and you realize how interconnected your life is. And so really when we started working in the girl spaces, that was huge for our family because the girls could then participate and they were aware of where all their things went. Because before they didn't know either and they're children and you're teaching them how to, go through life as well. They're watching you, they're seeing your systems either work or not work. And so I also didn't want to leave that with them. I wanted to teach them, skills that I'd never really had growing up. Even throughout my life, I'd tried a million times to organize my world in my bedroom or whatever it was. There's so many projects of like, I think even one time a friend came over who was highly organized and she was like, let's do this. I think it drove her crazy. And I was like, okay.
It's
But
tough to put on a friendship.
exactly. And so now we have, dedicated spots for their toys where like they can take it out, they can spread it all over the place, they can have a great time. We'll let them leave it there for a few days, but then, like say we have a family dinner tonight and grandma and grandpa are coming over. I'm like, all right, girls, time to pick this up because, everyone needs to walk through here. We'll go through some logistics. Like we just all need to be able to get through here safely. And also, we want to keep we want to keep our things that we appreciate nice. So we want to take good care of our things like we take care of each other. And then they're able to help me and they're starting to see the value and the joy of it too, where they're like, oh, it's so nice. Everything looks great. I'm like, isn't it? And like,
Right.
they're starting to learn that feeling early that I realized going through this experience of how good it feels. Because I think I'm not sure yet, but they seem to have some of my tendencies for sure. And so they'll spread everything out as any kid does. They spread all
Yeah.
the toys out and they don't see it. You see a mess all over the floor, but to them it's just fun or they move on to the next thing. And you want to foster that creativity and not stifle it and not be like, never touch anything. The house is pristine. Like, don't breathe, don't
And you
move.
don't want the tantrum when they get home from school and you threw away their creation that they've been thinking about all day while they were at school. I think we'll jump to the topic of kids because I think your girls, I did not know your girls before this. I mean, we reconnected
Mhm.
and it's like we always say like, okay, let's finish organizing so we can be friends now. We'll go do something outside of the time that we're on the clock. And I think that's something that I hold client time very
Mhm.
precious. And if I know you socially in some way before, I am very I am very mindful if I am on your clock that I am moving you along, and I will tell you, "I'm on
Mhm.
your clock." Like, you can keep telling me the story, but TikTok. Um, like, why don't we talk about it when we get together for coffee in the future? And I'm not trying because if I'm not sitting there for a certain amount of hours, I'm sitting there to achieve something for you. And so if you talk to me, you're standing in the way of me being able to get my job done. And I can't be like, okay, that's good enough. It's like I have to deliver that result for you. And so I mean, that's where like having Alicia, where I can delegate and say,
Mhm.
you focus on this. I'm going to focus on Danielle.
Mhm.
And then when you turn around and a task has been done, even when you turn around and all the things that we decided were trash has been removed and all the things that are getting donated are removed, the last go of it and with so we've worked for you a few years ago pretty intensively. You and I worked a little more coaching a couple years ago, and then in this past year, we've worked more intensively and really gotten your house almost to what it exactly needs to be for your family. Um, but Alicia, like
Mhm.
I can turn around and you can do meticulous in
Yeah.
a way that is pretty impressive.
And without I've so I would really the best way I could describe this is for people that haven't worked with a professional organizer and don't really know how this process works, it's very much a collaboration. I believe I don't know much about the industry. You can speak to that better than I can. Maybe there are people, but like when they come in as a team, you quickly see them work together. And I'm amazed that Colleen, you'll say something to Alicia that is incomprehensible to me and seems far too little on direction instructions. I have a firstborn and I tend to dictate a lot. And in my job, we do a lot of delegation. So I'll just bark out orders and expect them to be followed. But they have this easygoing back and forth that just seems seamless. And I don't know how I don't understand the instructions. And yeah, Alicia turns around and we're like, she just did this entire thing and it's complete. And I didn't really think Colleen gave her enough like direction or extra, but like they work so well together and then they work with
I'm
you.
glad Alicia's here to be able to attest to like she does speak my language.
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then she's, they're both confident
And
in
we've had other team members come and they speak the language too. There is a language that you figure out when you're working on behalf of others and not
Yeah.
your own stuff. There's eyes, there's a flow of a job. There's a general order of how we're going to do something. But
Mhm.
then there's specific tasks.
yeah.
And then knowing the strengths of the people, whether it be the client, also knowing when to tell you to go away.
Mhm. Yeah, and circling back to a bit of the body doubling, like part of that service for me, you talked about the time pressure, having to put that on the calendar and having to know this person is coming. Sometimes also she gives me homework either before or after. I'm not the greatest
You're
at
not
finishing
great
my
at
homework,
homework.
but even just
You get a
knowing that
very low
they're
grade on
I
homework.
know that's an area it's an area for opportunity for improvement. But even just having that set and knowing you guys show up and then for sure once you're there, um, you are very good at gently and kindly directing, but firmly in a way that like the time feels very well utilized. Like when I would talk about before that my husband had set aside an hour and get absolutely nothing done. This is the opposite. And as you said, in the middle of the process, there's a lot of things out. There's a lot of things everywhere because you do kind of have to touch everything. I've been telling friends lately, gushing about this process and how happy I am with the results that I think I've touched almost every item in my house at this point,
Mhm.
which is wild to me. And you realize how much stuff you have, and that's a little overwhelming and alarming. But it feels so good at the end of the process when everything goes back in its place or it's removed and either recycled and she helps with that too. Like when a lot of the things that we get stuck on is I just don't know what to do with this. And so having someone being like, I do, we're
Mhm.
either going to put it away. Do you want to recycle it? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to donate it? Like, we'll make that happen. And so having someone just facilitate those steps takes away that stumbling block where you just leave that box sitting there that you're like, we're going to decide on this later. I will tell you now, later never comes.
Later never comes. I want to go back to your crawl space because so we had Sierra with us when we were doing your job in January, and she was just a beast in that
Total
crawl
rock
space.
star.
And what we did because you were kind of like crawl space out of sight, out of mind. But then what
And it was pretty
happened?
full and tapped out.
Pretty
Like,
full and tapped out to the point that like the whole basement had become the crawl
yes.
space because it was like the crawl space in waiting.
Hmm.
And we have videos. And I mean, so we would pull everything out. You and I would go through it. We would give Alicia your phone and you do need to be taken away from your phone when we're working.
Yes.
Yep. So that was helpful. We'd give Alicia your phone, but she went on your Facebook and
Yep.
started to
Listing.
list it. And I said to you, this might not fully pay itself back, this process, like the time for the money returned. I mean, it probably about broke
I mean, I don't
even.
know if you want me to say numbers, but
Oh.
ballpark, I know, and I've probably have another load, like not as big as we've sold before. I think initially we listed over 55 items. I'm under 20 listings remaining. I have some more to list, and I know I've made over $2,000,
There you
So
go.
I was like,
which is
if
huge.
we can do this for you, which like some clients we do a profit share
Mhm.
when the items of value and they don't want to deal with it. But I was like, especially for people who have kids stuff is constantly flowing on Facebook Marketplace because
grow.
they
They keep growing.
grow. It's ridiculous to buy new when they're going to be, you don't even know if they're going to like the bike you buy them. It's like shine it up. It's you can get so much good stuff
And it
buying
feels
and
good to have
selling
someone else make good use of your things where you're like,
and
we
want
loved this
it.
well. There's nothing wrong with it. We're just moving on to the next phase of life. And so
And so we really, but also like I have very intimate conversations about family planning with people. Like I ask people things their best friends don't ask them, to be able to be like, what do we need to keep in the home for you?
Mhm.
So that if there might be a baby, removing something that no longer serves the family right now could be a $5,000 loss in the future if we got rid of everything.
Yeah.
But keeping it, but containing it so that mice don't get to it too is a big thing because a lot of people put these items in the furthest storage space in their
Mhm.
house, which is we live in Minnesota. That's
We've
just a thing.
And it's just nature. We've had a couple precious items nibbled by mice.
And
That was
it's
like a
so
precious baby hat that I
sad.
was so sad. And
Yes.
so you came to us this time at the phase where you'd done enough projects previously, and it was kind of tying it all in a neat bow, finishing off polishing, attacking the spaces we hadn't attacked yet to really like get to that point. And
Your
we had
crawl
decided
space
our
is
family was
gorgeous.
done. Like we were at that phase to
Yes.
ready.
Yes.
But I still had stored because at the time we didn't know what to do with it, or you just are like put it in the crawl space.
Yes.
So we had a lot of those baby items. And my girls are now, kindergarten, second grade. And so it was more than time to move on with these things, but it does take time to like sort it out and decide, like clean it, assemble it. I mean, oh my gosh, Alicia, the work you did. Thank you so much. Like photographs, like finding the descriptions online. And it was teaching me too. So I would say this was also a little bit of a coaching lesson because I had never, honestly, it makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't like selling things. I'm not in sales for a reason. And so I had never explored this world of Facebook Marketplace, but having them walk me through the initial steps and do these initial like postings and getting me used to the process.
And getting the dopamine hit that somebody wants
Yeah,
it,
that someone
and you're
wants
gonna
it,
make some money
and
off
then
of your stuff.
and the piles
And
disappeared,
it's
and
easier than you think. You just put outside,
yeah, it
someone's
was
gonna come
so
and get
easy.
it.
And so now I will continue doing that in the future because now I
Yes.
have that skill set and that setup, and I've gotten over that hump of like, this is a little scary. I've never done this before. Like, how do you do this?
But while we were doing that, Sierra was in the crawl space. So,
Mhm.
it was 4 people really working hard with every minute that we had.
Well, and as you said, like even just putting away, say, the season's Christmas decorations could take you an hour just putting it in there. But we had just thrown stuff in there. There was no real rhyme or reason to it. So the amount of physical effort, as you said, you're not standing up. You're hunched over,
Yeah.
like moving around in there. No one wants to do that for long. And so I think that's one drawback is why it can get so cluttered. But like moving it to a place now where like now I'm not gonna lie, this is maybe very strange to admit. I love walking around my crawl space. Like I'll go in there. I've offered people tours. I'm like, do you want to come look at it with me?
We took a video tour of it, so we'll put that online because
It's a beautiful thing.
it's
a
like a
beautiful thing.
5-minute tour of Danielle walking me through her very beautiful crawl space. But with the girls, I will just say your daughters.
Mm,
I didn't know them.
mhm.
And then you would send pictures in the first, a few years ago of them, like we'd be done with the day.
Yep.
We'd leave before they got home. A lot of times we do like to work between the times that the family's not there so
Mhm.
that it's not disruptive. It
Yeah.
just it can be a chaotic arrival if we're still there. I have shown up when the girls were
still
supposed
there.
to be at school and I helped put their shoes on
They
the way
were
out
very
door.
excited to see
I
you,
know.
but it was not the most efficient.
Now I'm like a person in the family. Like now I'm a known entity, like
Yes.
because we've been there so much. It's like Colleen. But then they've come to my parties
Yes.
and they gave me the name
Oh, yes. Ultimate auntie.
and the ultimate
Oh.
auntie.
Yeah.
I was like, "Lulu, you can have everything." Like, I'm obsessed with you.
She gets to set up
Thank
all the
you.
fun activities, and her house, is, novel and new and has all these exciting things. They're like, I'm like, yes, go there because I can't execute this. We'll leave that to Ultimate Auntie because, like, yeah, it takes a village, people. It takes a
She
village.
doesn't raise children, she entertains children, her
Yes.
best friend's children. Yeah, no, but so I think that the family, like, that's what's really sweet, and that's what those moments of gratification through the mess is like,
I
this
think I've
is a
sent you
fun
videos
play
of them
area.
getting so excited to see their new play area, and to them, it's
Yes.
new. It makes all their toys new. They're just
And
like,
the craft area that we
yeah,
made is like, this
they use
is
it
where you
almost
do your
daily.
crafts,
Yeah.
and then with yours, we've created like, this is the adult craft. Okay, before we finish off this segment, I want to do one more. I'm setting the 5-minute time timer.
Mhm.
I want to talk about family dynamics and husbands.
Mm.
5 minutes only, so we can't go to
No.
we can't get anyone upset. Um, but we've talked about that buy-in.
Yeah.
Your in-laws have been around and
Mhm.
seen things. They're newly excited
We
about
lived with we
reselling.
lived with them, yeah,
But
temporarily.
husbands and, like, being part of the process and not but just you've emailed me like, "Oh, we had friends over, and Michael was, like, singing the praises of this," and
Yes.
it's like, maybe at first it was like, "Do we really need to do this? Is this worth it?" And even though we're talking, like and I use the time wisely, it is an investment.
Mhm.
It's an investment in your
Mhm.
family, your home, your peace, um, but just talk to me about
When we were first gonna
that.
do this, I would say trying to, and again, I think going through the process now, I would have a much better, way to approach explaining it to my husband, but when I was first like, "I'm gonna do this," I have a lot of I'm a very big idea person, thinker, and so I'll throw a lot of ideas out there, and I'll get this initial look from him of, like, s like, kind, loving support, but gentle skepticism where he's like, "Okay, well, sure, I'll let you ride with this, and we'll see how this plays out," and lets me do my thing. And I will say to people, there's a reason. Colleen's explained to me before, and I've seen the benefits of it. There's a reason she works one on one with you, and she is there. Like, I prefer having her there as a client, um, which I know maybe some people are hands off because. So my husband wasn't there initially. Actually, a couple of the days he was there. And just remind yourselves, pretty much every human being has that knee jerk reaction if we don't like change, and everybody handles that differently. And so, in the midst of the process, that was a real struggle for him where I could tell, I could see the little panic in his face where he's like, "What are they doing? What's going on? I don't like
Great
this."
point.
And you really have to trust the process. I think you say that a lot, and it's so true. And I think that is a lot easier when you're a part of the process. It lets you
It
know that,
always looks worse before it looks
yeah, and
better.
it lets you know
Mhm.
that it is collaborative. It is, they don't just come in and like overhaul your life and say, okay, now you're stuck with this, deal with it. It's very much tailored, very personally to you, your family. And that can be hard when the other person is not there. And so we would try to, text my husband some things or ask him some things. And because he wasn't a part of the whole process, I think it was very stressful for him. So we found for him, it was better if he was not there and that we just did most of it, and then he would come home and see the benefits. And once he started to see and live in the benefits, then he was like, "Oh," then the light bulb started to go off for him. And then he was actually experiencing, we were wasting less time as a family running around just searching for
I
things.
love
What there
that.
was sports equipment or art equipment, like it was immediately less stressful. It immediately improved our lives. And that for him was the tipping point where he was like, "Oh my gosh." And I was like, "I know." And then as I started to like, because I wanted some credit too. I was trying to explain to him, like, by the way, this took, 3 adults and this many hours and their expertise. And like, we did it, but I want you to know how much work and effort went into this.
Yes.
And now he has come full circle and is like, thank you guys. Thank Colleen and her team. Thank you guys for doing all this work. Like, now he very much appreciates not just the end result, but the effort that went into it and the value. And he's like, at first he was like, wait, he's in business. My dad's an accountant. You know, very few of us can just not even look at a price tag. We're all conscientious about
Yes.
where our dollars go, how we're spending them. That is a very real decision, many decisions that we're making all day, every day. But seeing that payout, he was like, he hasn't even asked to see a bill since the first one because he's like, this is more than worth the benefit. I trust you. I trust the team. Um, not that I don't need to know. We work very collaboratively as a family, as a couple, so we know. But he's seen the benefit and he's more than willing to like make the investment.
And I think that's just, like we have a job coming up that we're working entirely with the dad, and the mom doesn't want to be involved at all. And it's every family has different roles that they play. And I think that that's where, there's no one size fits all for any of this. That's what, my ADHD is that I love new things.
Mhm.
And I can and I love solving a family's puzzle. I love the transformation. And Alicia's ADHD is she loves honing in and
Mhm.
focusing hard on something and being told what to do. And part of that too is like when I tell Alicia what to do, I'll often tell a client, Alicia likes direct communication, like, because it sounds like I'm being really bossy and rude. And I can be pretty, like, I know how to speak and communicate what I want, but that's actually the preferred communication style between us. And from her, for somebody else, I have to navigate if somebody wants more context. Alicia just wants to know what she's doing.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep, on it. I'll come up for air when I'm done. It's like so navigating, everybody's strengths and their desire to be part of it. I love kids. I love including them in the right way. This
Mhm.
us usually Alicia loves kids, but it gets a little stressed when they're around a
Yeah.
lot. And so, we
And as we all know,
she's
having the
not
children around, I wouldn't recommend that. Like
yeah,
they've interacted lightly, I would say, at the beginning or the end of a day
yes.
and
Mhm.
seen things. So we're like, "Oh,
Best
do you
to
like
see at the
this?"
end of the day so that you can say,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you love this? Like, do you want to learn how to fold like this?" Like,
Mhm.
then you can show. And it's also not mom telling you to put something away. It's that
Yeah.
woman who came in and created the fancy system for them and be
And it's
like,
exciting
"Look at what
discovery
we've
for
got
them.
it says Legos here, so you can
Yeah.
put your Legos here. It
I
says
love it.
animals here."
Their drawers are now labeled. So, like,
Ah,
if any of you do the Montessori method or are familiar with that or do some of it, we do try to, foster a certain level of independence in them and are trying to teach them just those life skills that will serve them always. And so, all their drawers, when you open it, it's hidden when they're closed, but there's little labels of like where your short sleeves go, where your long sleeves, and
which is also great for you work 12-hour shifts. Your
mhm.
mom might be helping, pick
Yeah,
up the
when
kids after
grandma is putting
school,
away
and
clothes, now
she can
she
put away
can.
clothes. And it's not like, I think that this goes here because a label tells you where to put something and also where not to put something.
Yep.
It's not just, I'm going to shove it in here. It's like that you have to be defiant if you're going to put a long sleeve in the short sleeve
Yeah.
section
Yes.
that somebody took the time to label. Let's take our final quick break. We'll come back and just wrap this up with a nice bow. This is Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston, and we will be right back. All right, we are back sorting through life, and we have sorted through Danielle and her family's entire life. And I have Alicia here, and Alicia, you were there day one,
Mhm.
and you've been there day 27. I don't think it's been that many,
No.
but it's been a lot of days, some long days, some shorter days.
Mhm.
We've really that's been the fun of the job with you is like, what do you need now? And being able to say, okay, here's what I think you need to do next. Um and it's just a very customizable experience. But Alicia, from your perspective
Mhm.
of the over the last few years, we've seen Danielle and the family. Like, what do you think are some of these big takeaways?
Yeah, honestly, it was nice going back and seeing the systems that were still in place, like, a year and a half later. We've gone back to maybe a few clients' house, but I feel like with Danielle and her family, they're a lot busier of a family than a lot of the clients that we've done before. So, knowing that the systems that we did put in place was still attainable and kept in place, like, sure, there is some touch-ups needed here and there, but overall, it was nice to see that, okay, like, this actually worked for them and worked well.
Super motivating for
Yeah.
us to see that we don't have to come in and
Mm.
fix something. I think we spent a couple hours touching up stuff that we spent a couple days
Yeah.
doing
Mhm.
before. So
Yeah.
when you think of that, okay, so a few years ago, we spent a couple days. Alicia, you were very meticulously organizing the toiletries
Oh,
and
yes.
Mhm.
Yep, the closets in the upstairs, the bathrooms.
so this time, Alicia was really focused on the reselling effort for you. But like seeing that your system has served a family and then being able to go through and say, okay, let's just, now we don't even need your input
Mhm.
to do that 3 years later, touch up. We're able to say, hey, do you want to throw away these expired things?
Yeah.
I would. Okay, we did this, here's an empty box that you held on to. Let's let that go.
Yep.
But it was, I think that is very rewarding on our behalf.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I think also it feels good to say, check, moving on to the next one.
Yeah, I would say even the light refreshes almost to me are like a bonus in the service. Like there's still things because you set up the system so well. Those are things that we actually do behind the scenes. That's why we've kept it up so well
Yep.
because periodically, we're, like you say, we're a busy family. We're not doing it every day. But every once in a while, because it's so organized and set up in a good way, you see when those little anomalies pop up and you're like, oh, there's a couple things piling up here. It's also saved us from less waste. We buy a lot less because I know what's there instead of it's in 6 different places and I can't remember if I bought it, if I have it. So we're able
But
to do
some
those
people are
things.
like, oh, I want everything decanted and perfectly, like I want a glass jar for my Cheez-Its. Your family, that would be completely unrealistic for it. We have a snack bin and all the snacks go in it. We
Yeah.
have an adult snack bin.
Yeah.
We have so it's like really making sure that we made something for you that
Yeah.
looked at the way that you live and the way that you flow in that house.
Our mornings getting out the door are smoother because I can say, girls, go pick out your snacks for the morning, put them in your backpack. They can now
Yes.
go do that without question. They know exactly where it is. So made life easier for everyone. And then, yeah, when you guys come back, it's kind of a pride point too, where you're like, yes, we
Yes.
did.
Yes.
We are doing a good job and everyone loves it. Thank you.
And I think, like I say, we're not maintenance organizers. There are people who go to the same houses every week or every other week, and Amazon deliveries arrive on point and they put it all away. And that is so exciting for the people who can afford that luxury and have that. But that's just not what Space by Space is about. Space by Space, like we really love the transformation. And then if you are a client that we have done that service for, it's very easy for us to say, of course, let's
Yep.
come in and tidy this up. But it doesn't need a weekly or bi-weekly tidy because it works. Well, I just want to thank you both. I want to thank you, Danielle, for coming with your incredibly busy schedule. But I think you're so relatable in that there's so many people who probably feel intimidated to make the call. 612-747-1331. Go to spacebyspaceorganizing.com. Reach out to us. Set it up. Laura will be in touch with you on our website. Set up a consult with me. Let's start figuring out your custom plan so that you can come on this show like Danielle and your kids can come to my parties.
It's a wonderful experience. I can't thank you guys enough. And I'm so glad I made that call.
Hey, us too. And that's a wrap.